The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the advertisers, owners, or management of Pacific Telestations, LLC. For comments, opinions, and questions, please email Jess Lujan at jessthebuzz@gmail.com. The Buzz with Jess Lujan.
Good evening, Guam. I'm Jess Lujan. Welcome to this edition of The Buzz. Exciting show tonight. My former colleague, the 28th and 29th Guam Legislature, former Senator Frank Ishizaki is in the house with me tonight. Hey, good evening, Frank. Malikat.
Maulik, buenas.
Hey, thank you very much. This is and Merry Christmas to Merry Christmas to you and your family as well.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're up at the University of Guam right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
mellow around a little bit.
I enjoy engaging with students, and
yeah.
it's very rewarding for me.
Well, thank you very much again for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know it's exam week, so you've taken time out of to do that. So, but students, you still have your exam to tend to with Frank Ishizaki. Frank, let me ask you, because I've been reading your articles, and we're on the same page. And, I think I don't know how many more Republicans are left on Guam at this point. But I remember in the legislature, we were really looked at expenditures, frugal and expenditures in regards to borrowing components, taxes, and things of that nature. And I think we're on the same page in regards to all of that. Now, I know you're in University of Guam teaching criminal justice over there, but you can't teach criminal justice without all the other components of the University of Guam in regards to what is the government doing, again, if they're wanting to put burdens on our shoulders, on our backs in regards to expenditures, borrowing components, fees, and all that. What is the government doing to, again, minimize, again, its cost to the public, whether right-sizing, downsizing, whatever it may be, because they're always asking us, we need to borrow, we need to do this, but the government is not saying, well, this is what I'm doing, maybe to try to prevent that. Please.
I like it that you're on the same page.
Yeah.
And you know what, people think I hate borrowing. Mm-hmm. I'm resistant to borrowing.
Yeah.
But I'm not opposed to borrowing.
Sure. Infrastructure.
But show me that we've done everything that we
right.
need to do before we even go there.
Sure.
And
sure.
it seems like we have this habit of spend, raise taxes, borrow, in whatever sequence.
Sure.
And we're spending more than we can afford. And that's clear.
Yeah.
It's very, very clear. And so we spent time in the legislature, and we worked on a few things.
Sure.
One of them was consolidation and reorganization.
That's right.
And that was the last time it was really seriously moved.
Sure. And that's what I'm looking at. If we just were to take the simplest things that we do in our households, right? Households. Now, a government is a big household, but in its operations, we look at when times are bad for us, or economic situation is not as good as it used to be. We look at over the years we've done that with our power situations. Not one of us has not put measures in our household to conserve power and water and all that. We all have done it, okay? But we did such a good job, GPA continues to raise its fee because they're not getting enough income from the savings that we're doing at this point. The government in Guam in general, I have not heard in any cutbacks, any consolidations, any eliminations. I mean, there are services out there. I mean, there's an agency and someone for every service to be provided. But our people are still not being provided.
Well, certainly. It's like it's kind of sometimes a magic and mystery, right, of government. Because I know, like for instance, if you just dealt with police, for instance.
Sure.
And the police, like every agency, you lose people every year.
Sure.
From retirement. Sometimes some unfortunately people get sick and they can't work anymore. People die, and so you have normal attrition.
Sure.
And so sometimes it's tempting, and I see it all the time. You don't fill those vacancies as they develop because you think you're saving money. But what happens in the end is it costs more money in the long run because you don't have enough people, and then you got to activate more officers and pay them overtime.
Sure.
So when you pay in overtime, at higher wages at time and a half, it costs a lot more than filling the vacancies. And that's a tempting thing. So you're thinking short-sighted, we're going to save a few bucks, but in the long run, it actually costs more because to provide the critical service like that you talk about, you need a certain number of employees.
You know, one of the things that is not being talked about, but I'm hearing it more from a lot of different people. I mean, remember the times again, and this is not too far back, you know, in our memory, where people were leaving island, not because they didn't have jobs, but they were looking, and not necessarily because they were getting better jobs, they were probably getting equal jobs, but they're saying the cost of living is a lot lower where they're at now, or where they were going to be going to. Now, if individuals here in Guam are leaving to go to California, there's something wrong with that picture because the cost of living in California is very high.
Well, California's cost of living is high for housing.
For housing, sure.
But everything else is cheaper.
Yeah, sure.
Everything else is very cheap.
Sure.
I just visited my grandsons in California, and cost of gasoline is $2 something. How much did you pay for gas today?
Well, yeah. Well, and when you look at the regulations on again their air quality and all that, right? It's more expensive to refine their gas to meet all the you know the EPA components that are put in place.
Yeah.
More expensive.
And the state taxes a lot.
That's right.
So when they add all that up, we still pay more for gas here. So cost of living in Guam is very high. Housing is cheaper, and property tax is very, very cheap. Thank goodness. But everything else costs a lot of money.
Sure. Now, you know, in your articles, you know, I know that we're critical about in regards to. I know you. You know, I know your heart. I dealt with you with you with a couple.
I
of
like
terms.
that you dealt with me.
Well, we worked together. That's wrong choice of words. Okay, wrong choice of words. And
it was a pleasure. Actually.
Yeah, and we worked together in a lot of different components of the legislature. We agreed a lot. We differed in some things, but you were trying to help out the police department a while back here in regards to their staffing pattern. I know you personally. I know Chief Suba personally as well. I know where your hearts are at, you know, in regards to that. You were criticized for that.
You know, yeah, I was, but people didn't understand the challenges I was going through.
Sure.
Because we had tremendous vacancies, and every time we advertised to fill the slots, I only had just a dozen applicants. They weren't, the job of a policeman or a fireman was not attractive.
Sure.
People were going other places for jobs. So I made a move that, you know, I wanted to raise wages. And initially I just wanted to raise the wages for police officer, but it wasn't going to work. I had to raise all of public safety.
All of public safety, that's right,
So I proposed a 3-year, 39% raise. And then Dr. Guthertz, he said, let's make it 40%. I go, fine, make it 40%.
Sure.
But we made it 40% over 4 years. And I checked with BBMR, I checked with the governor and make sure it's going to work. Because
we sure we had the physical note for that.
Yes. I mean, before we introduced the bill, I just made sure that we could cover it.
Sure.
And they said it's manageable. You know.
Now let me ask this, because we have quite a few again promotions, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. But in a situation we're in at this point, and I'm sure you wanted to promote a lot of people as well. I mean, that needed to be promoted, that rightfully deserved to be promoted at the time. But did we have enough money then to sustain that, and not sacrifice again, because you're needing to replace, get PO1s, PO2s, get them out there. So are we now top heavy? I mean, I don't know at this point.
It might be. Well, I asked for some information, and I was denied the information. So I really can't comment, because I would have to dissect the staffing pattern in the budget, and that's too much work. I made a request of the police department, and they said no.
I guess one of the ways to answer that, are there cycles happening right now?
I think there is.
Okay.
But first, let me answer the first one, because you asked, did I promote? Yes, I promoted a lot of people. But when I promoted, the wages were very low. And prior to my doing the promotions, we had officers. The whole department didn't enjoy promotions for over 15 years. And when you look at promotions versus hiring, promotions are cheaper. Because when you do at that time anyway, it was a lot cheaper than it is today. Because there's adjustments to the step increment depending on the total wage, right? So I promoted probably well over 300, almost everybody in the department got promoted because they didn't enjoy it for 15 years. And so one is a retention issue, right? That to retain your officers, you better take care of them. So I did that for retention purposes.
And you were actually GPD was a training ground for a lot of other law enforcement agencies
Yes.
in the nation. Yeah.
Yes, the good officers were leaving.
Sure, sure.
If they were young enough, if they had other jobs, they were going to AG's office, they were going to customs, they were going
Sure,
to
sure.
other departments,
Sure.
or to the military or the feds,
Sure, sure.
because they paid more.
Yeah.
So I realized that. So when I became a senator, that was one of my early bills to give them pay raise, because I saw how difficult it was to fill positions.
Yes,
One
sir.
is entry-level position,
Sure.
and the other was retention issues.
And that's my thought at this point, because, you know, and I tell you what, I've got to cut my thought for a second here, because I got to pay some bills. When I come back, I want to ask you about, I mean, because we don't see a lot of police presence nowadays. Maybe I'm just not seeing right. Maybe I need to get my eyes checked. But anyway, be right back.